love and hate the Oscars in equal measure. I love them for being an annual excuse to lift up movies and actors and musicians and artists and directors and everything in between, and I hate them for being an antiquated, pointless system that undermines itself as often as it makes the right choices. Sometimes the right performances do win the awards, and sometimes they absolutely don't. Leonardo DiCaprio probably should have won one at some point, for Inception or Blood Diamonds or The Wolf of Wall Street, but he was snubbed. So they gave it to him for The Revenant instead, which was a choice? In a different year, Matt Damon or Bryan Cranston probably would have won for The Martian or Trumbo, but Leo was overdue a win, and his performance in The Revenant was screaming out, "Give me an Oscar, please!" Quite literally. The Revenant is fun, but it's acting with a capital A. My favourite Leo performance was in Blood Diamond, because it was the only movie I've seen him in where I genuinely forgot that he was Leonardo DiCaprio the actor, and just believed that he was this dickhead.
I am Captain Rambo.
Right, I've seen your films, huh?
You get something for me?
And Yusef get something for me, huh?
You bring the plane come first.
Are you crazy? You get for pay me first for them.
In many ways, it was a subtler performance, even when it was being a more over-exaggerated one, which is exactly why it didn't win. There are two schools of thought when it comes to good acting. Acting that is big enough to draw you in, bold choices that engage the audience consciously, and acting that's subtle enough that the audience wouldn't even be able to identify one particular thing about the performance that they are most invested in. It's exactly the same argument that comes up when we're giving out awards for editing and composing, because some people believe the best editing and OSTs are the ones you don't notice. Editing so seamless you're never drawn out of the movie, and OST so perfect for the action that you can't remember what it sounds like. And some people believe the opposite, that the flashier the editing or the more memorable the backing track, the better it is. I'm in the camp, as I am with all things, that it's a spectrum. Some flashy editing is great. Think Edgar Wright, particularly Scott Pilgrim.
It's been over a year since you got dumped by she who will not be named, so... Are you legitimately moving on, or is this just you being insane?
Can I get back to you on that?
Or Goodfellas.
Always gonna take me.
Frank, what the fuck does 528 have to do with 460? I can't believe this guy. Fucking 528 ain't even close to 460 now. What the fuck has that got to do with anything?
I've been playing that number for 3 years.
Hey, Henry.
Pete, no problem, right? Let me get you.
I'll take care of it.
Or The Shining.
Come and play with us, Daddy. Forever. And ever. And ever.
And some flashy editing is absolute hot garbage. And sometimes the hot garbage wins an Oscar.
He just asked me if I would like this, and I said, sure, my mom would like it. Who's here? Over there, she's 85 years old. You get up here and you're completely blank. Freddie Mercury, in a way, kind of brought us all together.
Same goes for the music. Also, the fact that La La Land was even nominated for Best Sound Mixing still baffles me to this day. You can barely hear what those people are singing in that opening number. It's some of the worst sound mixing I've ever heard, and I watch my own YouTube channel. I'm getting off topic. What I actually want to talk about is quote-unquote good acting. Everything on the spectrum from Nicolas Cage to Rufus Sewell in The Man in the High Castle. And I know that it's impossible to be objective about performances. There are performances that I think are great that other people think are the worst they've ever seen. This is the nature of the human condition. But there are choices and moments that actors make that are hugely impactful in the most subtle of ways, and those are the ones I want to talk about. Good acting is about more than just yelling. I know that realistically, we already know this, but when people talk about the best acting performances, they generally talk about things like Breaking Bad.
I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
And Leonardo DiCaprio breaking his hand open on a glass in Django Unchained and acting through it.
You see, under the laws of Chickasaw County, Boomhilda here is my property.
But as Curtis Connor pointed out in his tweet, it seems like most compilations of quote-unquote good acting are mainly full of rage and tears. As Drew Gooden expressed in this video,
while most of these scenes are incredible, I think it's kind of silly that we tend to view yelling loudly or crying on camera to be the epitome of a performance. Maybe it's just that anger and sadness are the two most relatable human emotions, or maybe it's cathartic when you have some amount of pent-up frustration to see an actor go absolutely apeshit on a mirror. But there are so many other types of acting that are just as important as the climactic rage rage outbursts that tend to fly under the radar.
And honestly, as someone who both studied drama because she wanted to become an actress for a while, and as someone who just loves film and television, almost everything I have to say about acting has been said before. Most of it by Drew in that video, so in the unlikely event that you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend it. I'm not here to analyse acting on a large scale so much as I'm here to discuss tiny acting moments and what makes them effective, and in some cases, more effective than big ones. Don't get me wrong, I love huge performances as much as the next girl. The campier, the better. But as with romance, I tend to prefer small, intimate moments to grand gestures. For example, much as I despise J.K. Rowling, as has been well documented on this channel, the performances in the films are all good and have nothing to do with her, and unfortunately, I have to use Harry Potter as an example. Just once, and then we'll move on to even tinier performances. If you can't even stomach that, understandably, you can skip to this timestamp. I bring this series up because I vividly remember the first small moment that made me gasp being in The Prisoner of Azkaban, and I want to highlight Alan Rickman's performance because he deserves all the praise he can get. He was told ahead of time about his character's actual motives, so even before the book had come out, he knew that Snape was supposed to be secretly protecting Harry despite his hatred of him. But the audience doesn't necessarily need to pick that up. And yet, there's this moment after the gang has knocked him out where he wakes up and he's furious at them. He reaches for Harry like he's going to kill him. And then he hears the werewolf and instinctively throws himself in front of the kids. It's one of the bigger little moments because he stays protective for the whole scene, but they didn't need to put that in there. Snape could have stayed in the shack unconscious the entire time. That little moment is such a cool hint as to what Snape's true priorities are. He hates Harry, sure, but at his core he's trying to do the right thing, including throwing himself in between them and a werewolf who could absolutely kill him. Obviously, in the context of the full story, this is a badly written twist that serves no purpose except to redeem his character as he dies in the laziest way possible, and does not detract from the abusive behaviour he displayed across all 7 books, towards not just Harry, but most of the students. But this ain't about her. This is about Alan Rickman, and how brilliant that moment was. That might be the first moment that brought more subtle, gasp-worthy acting moments to my attention as a kid, but it absolutely wasn't the last. My accent's getting more northern as I read. I don't know how that's possible. In a very similar vein, The Way, Way Back, an excellent film, by the way, has a moment towards the end where, after Duncan has told Owen about his emotionally abusive stepfather and how he makes him feel, he goes to say goodbye to Owen and the rest of his friends, and his mother and stepfather come to find him. And when Trent goes to reach for Duncan, Owen just ever so subtly steps in front of him, under the guise of shaking Trent's hand.
Oh, you must be Trent. I'm Owen, a good friend of the 3.
Come on, let's go. I'll be in the car.
He doesn't call him out on his behaviour or make a scene. He just makes it very clear immediately that Duncan is under his protection. And whether he does this to intimidate Trent or to make Duncan feel validated, all that matters is that he listened. And he believed him, which is what Duncan has been needing the entire movie. Oh my god, please go watch this movie, it's so good. Sam Rockwell is good in everything, but he really knocks it out of the park in this one. And Steve Carell is surprisingly good at playing a character that you actually just despise. He's such an asshole in a way that is very compelling. So now that I think I've expressed what kind of impact these moments should have, I want to give examples of tiny acting moments that make you feel specific emotions, like those huge rage scenes or devastating crying scenes, the kinds of moments that make you feel the same drop in your stomach as if the character was screaming and crying. It goes without saying that there will be minor spoilers for everything I talk about, but most of it is more than a decade old, so you'll probably be fine. Let's do angry first. 7 Psychopaths is one of my favourite movies of all time. It also features Sam Rockwell, not a coincidence, and Colin Farrell, another one of my favourite actors. This movie has great performances across the board, but I specifically want to talk about its depiction of different kinds of rage. Almost every character in this movie is angry about something, whether that anger is righteous, like Christopher Walken's character.
It's a very good story. Did you make that up? All by yourself?
Built on alcoholism and toxicity, like the main character, Colin Farrell.
Thanks, Billy. That's what I'll do. I'll put the way I'm feeling today into my writing. And then I'll go blow my fucking brains out.
Or complete fucking insanity, like Sam Rockwell's character.
What are we making, French movies now? That sounds like the stupidest ending. No shootouts? That sounds like the stupidest ending to a movie I've ever fucking... No shootouts?
Tom Waits' character, who's only in the film for a scene and a half, captures the quiet fury of a man who knows he's capable of killing you without trying.
No, it's too late. You know that, Martin. You promised on your life. You know what that means, don't you?
And Woody Harrelson, ostensibly the villain of the film, is constantly exploding with bouts of comical rage.
You love your dog so much, Mr. Costello, when you're such an angry type person. I didn't think you...
But honestly, I think the best expression of anger in this film is Linda Bright Clay as Myra, Christopher Walken's wife, who looks a gangster she knows is about to kill her in the face and spits his own venom back at him.
Yeah. The Pollock married a
It's so quietly seething, and it feels so earned, and it makes the audience feel simultaneously with her and heartbroken for her. It's a fantastic execution of anger that is juxtaposed by the constant loud outbursts from almost every other character, mostly men, and is similarly mirrored in Christopher Walken's character later in the film when he reveals the scar on his neck.
Slice.
Excellent film, 10 out of 10, no notes. Okay, how about a tiny acting moment for shock value? Something that's supposed to make that pit form in your stomach, make you gasp a bit. The West Wing is mainly known for its witty dialogue.
Toby, come quick. Sam's getting his ass kicked by a girl. Did you get the popcorn?
Where are you going?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm standing up, which is how one speaks in opposition in a civilized world.
Well, you go, girl.
By day, they churn butter and worship according to their own beliefs, and by night, they solve crimes.
Read the thing.
Pilgrim detectives.
Do you see me laughing?
I think you're laughing on the inside.
Okay.
With the big hats.
Give me the speech.
Post is calling it sleek, challenging, and oftentimes witty, not unlike myself. No cameras.
You negotiated that?
Yeah.
They agreed to it?
You want to make out with me right now, don't you?
Well, when don't I?
Politics, and for launching the careers of a number of brilliant actors, as well as all its Aaron Sorkinisms.
Pete, every comedy show has already parodied every Aaron Sorkin trope. The walking and talking, the random handing off of a piece of paper from one individual to another, a quick glance at that piece of paper, a handing off of that piece of paper to somebody else, up to and including the ping pong dialogue.
The ping pong dialogue?
The ping pong dialogue.
The ping pong dialogue?
The ping pong dialogue.
Advise me.
You can't have too many cushions.
Yes.
Glastonbury's gone too corporate.
Right.
You don't see many milkmen nowadays.
No, you're right.
Scandinavians don't really know what to do in tapas bars.
With you.
You won't get a dog on an escalator.
Understood.
Beetroot's making a comeback.
What about sprouts?
Never gonna happen.
Okay.
I'm just back from the zoo.
What was the best thing there?
The camels. Of
course.
Rocky V didn't really work.
Too late, I've seen it.
Model railways are more popular than ever.
Uh-huh.
Nobody misses soda streams.
Right.
2 pints to Silvertops.
Where the hell have you been?
But the moment in the show that I think I've rewatched the most is the first episode of season 2. Spoilers for a 20-year-old show, but the first season ended with crazed gunmen attacking an event that the president and his staff are at. Season 2 opens and we don't know who has been hurt or not. One by one, in the chaos, they're revealed to be okay, and then the president is revealed to be hit. So you start to think that's going to be the major angst for the episode. And it is. Partly because throughout all of this, Toby has been looking for Josh. Not in a way that necessarily draws your attention, but in a way that is present. And he finally finds him. And then this happens.
Josh, can you hear me shouting for you? I didn't know where the hell you I need a doctor!
This is such a phenomenal performance, I almost can't even put it into words. He starts off scolding Josh for ignoring him, and then you can see the realization hit him in real time. That head tilt as he realizes Josh isn't okay is such a brilliant moment of acting because you can feel the panic. You can feel that stomach-dropping, heart-clenching fear as he realizes his friend has been shot, and it's so devastating, more so than Josh passing out right afterwards, because it's almost always more effective to show characters reacting to bad news than it is to show the bad news. And speaking of, in season 6 of How I Met Your Mother, Marshall's dad dies. And it's insane how hard this moment hits. Because it's a light-hearted comedy show that also does not hold up. And also, it's not what the episode was about. In hindsight, it's obvious, especially given the subtle set-dressing countdown throughout the episode, but the moment where it's revealed and Marshall goes from excited to utterly devastated is so well done. In a worse show, especially a comedy, we'd see his father pass out, or there would be something in there to play for laughs. But the episode ends on Marshall hugging Lily and crying quietly. It ends on the phrase,
I'm not ready for this.
which is such a raw and heartbreaking line, and the fact that Jason improvised it just makes the whole thing even more upsetting. Jason was blindsided with what news Allison was going to bring him, so his reaction was a gut choice, and it's so wonderfully done.
I need you to know that I started crying while editing that How I Met Your Mother clip into the episode. That show has aged very badly, but holy shit, that moment. That shit gets me every time. What the fuck? Oh my god. Big props to you, Jason Segel, for that acting moment. Holy shit.
I think the tiny acting moments are most effective when they're trying to make the audience feel sadness, because sadness, in a lot of ways, is a very internal emotion. Sure, you can cry, but even if you're not crying, that doesn't mean you're not sad, and it's very challenging and rewarding for an actor to portray that kind of emotion in a way that isn't the most obvious. The entire first season of Fleabag is a good example of this. Fleabag is abrasive and tactless and ridiculous, and she spends the whole show acting out to hide the fact that she's devastated the loss of her friend and blames herself for it because it was indirectly her fault.
I don't know what to do with it.
With what?
With all the love I have for her. I don't know where to put it now.
I'll take it.
She was a surprising person.
They shouldn't have just locked him up.
He pencil fucked a hamster.
Yeah, but he's obviously not happy. Happy people wouldn't do things like that.
Fair point.
And anyway, that's the very reason why they put rubbers on the end of pencils.
What, to fuck hamsters?
No, because people make mistakes.
I could pick a lot of tiny moments in this show, but that clip sums it up. As her dad points out,
I think you know how to love better than any of us. That's why you find it all so painful.
she has so much love and nowhere to put it, and all of that makes it one of the most heartbreaking stories to rewatch because despite the comedy that is made from her antics, she's just an incredibly lonely, broken person who is looking for someone to understand her, which she finds in season 2, but I don't want to talk about that because if you hadn't seen it, you should go watch it immediately. Speaking of incredible love stories,
this is a love story.
as anybody who knows me personally would know, or if you've seen a couple of my videos from way back when, like my Persuasion one, Jane Austen's Emma has my favourite love confession of all time, and my favourite version of this confession was done by Johnny Lee Miller in the 2009 BBC Emma miniseries.
I cannot make speeches. If I loved you less, I might be able to talk about it more.
The way he delivers it, like he's annoyed at himself for the fact that he can't communicate his feelings better. He's been in love with her for years, and all he's been able to do is stand on the sidelines and occasionally reel her in when she says something tactless because that's how he loves her. But he wishes he could do what men like Frank do and woo her effortlessly, and he's so frustrated with himself that this is the best he can manage. And it's so beautifully endearing, it makes my heart explode! This is true romance, kids. I've seen every version of this confession that has been put to film, and none of them have ever beaten that performance for me.
If I loved you less, then I might be able to talk about it more.
If I loved you less, I might be able to talk about it more.
The quiet irritation at himself in the delivery of that line is so unparalleled I can no longer even read the book without hearing it in that delivery. And speaking of my favourite love confessions, let's talk about Bad Buddy! The episode 5 scene is some of the best acting I've ever seen. Pat has just realised that he has feelings for Pran. Pran has been in love with him for years, and they're both coming at this conversation from completely different emotional places. Pat is hopeful for the start of something, and Pran has had long enough to decide that it could never work. Pran is defeated before the conversation even begins, but he still lets himself feel it. He gives in to the emotions he's been suppressing for so long, just for a moment, before he closes them off again. There's so much being said, but there's even more not being said, and it's everything in the world to me, and have I mentioned you should watch this show? And finally, let's do a quick fire round to highlight a few more of my favourite tiny, huge acting moments. The Morse code scene in season 6 of The 100, where Bellamy realises that Clark isn't dead, she's just trapped inside her own body.
How long will it take to build? Just a moment, sweetheart. With all of our people helping you, it will go much faster.
Talk to Riker about a work schedule, and you'll need a detail about 50 of your own people. You'll build up all that.
Excellent work from both of the leads. There's loads of scenes like this in The 100, honestly. That's part of why I was obsessed with the show for so long. Eliza and Bob have stupidly good chemistry, and they're both very good actors.
Also, I just want to highlight Eliza's entire performance in season 6 in general, and her performance on the show in general, but especially in season 6. She goes from Clark's devastation in the first episode to literally a body swap plotline where she plays a completely different character in the body of the previous character. It's so incredible.
The scene in Tomorrow where he's locked up and she goes to see him, and that moment of understanding passes between them, and you see all those hundreds of years of history, and your heart breaks and restores itself in a single moment. I'm really normal about them. Me when I lie. Good Omens, obviously, particularly this line.
I'll give you a lift, anywhere you want to go. You go too fast for me, Crowley.
Thank you to Michael Sheen for one of the most devastating line deliveries in the history of cinema. I think about this scene at least once a week, and it makes me want to leap into the ocean face first. This scene in Guardian.
幸好我生过。我不知道你为我这么做，知道。
The genuine devastation between the carefully open expression on Shenwei's face, juxtaposed directly against the outburst of rage from Yunnan, is so brilliantly executed. Ju Yilong, the actor that you are! Doctor Who. Again, there are countless moments, but if I have to pick one off the top of my head right now, probably the moment in Family of Blood where the Doctor has his memories back, but he's pretending to be John Smith. On first watch, you don't know he's lying, but when you watch it back, there are moments where you can see the Doctor underneath the facade. David is playing the Doctor, playing John Smith, and it rules.
It's empty.
Where's it gone?
You tell me.
Oh, I think the explanation might be you've been fooled by a simple olfactory misdirection. A little bit like ventriloquism of the nose.
12 Monkeys. All the little moments in the first half of the first season where you can see Cole discovering things that make life worth living. Dancing, eating with Cassie, those moments of genuine happiness on his face.
I mean, you look clean.
Actors don't often get praised for portraying truly positive emotions unless they're also wrapped up in tears, but this show does it so well. It always manages to find the one spark of positivity in the darkness.
I know I'm mainly focusing on specifically the moments where Cole is like delighted and surprised to be happy with something, but I'd also like to highlight the amazing acting he's doing in scenes where he's not used to being in like a positive setting and he's just inherently suspicious and on alert because that's how he has to be living in the future apocalypse and everything is evil. Like everything about this performance it's genuinely one of my favorite performances that's ever been put to television. I rewatch this show at least once a year, once every 2 years. It is one of my favorite shows of all time. If anybody would like me to do a deep dive on it, I absolutely fucking will. It's so incredible. I love this show so much.
The moment in Psych where you realize he is actually affected by what's going on.
He's got her. Gus. He's got my mom.
But I'll go more in depth about that in my upcoming Psych video. And finally, at least for now, Run On. When Ki Sung-gyum is asked about what it feels like to run for a living, the way he delivers this line has genuinely never left my brain.
숨찬 기분.
The sigh he lets out, like the act of remembering how out of breath he usually is, makes him exhale. Like it's exhausting, but he doesn't hate it. Like he doesn't know how to explain, but he wants her to understand. Iconic, amazing, brilliant, show-stopping, never been done before. Honestly, like the last couple of videos on my channel have been like a mix of positive and negative. I do want to keep that balanced, and because the last video I posted was mostly negative, I wanted to do a mostly positive video next because I like talking about the things that I like. I like acting. I love acting. I love TV shows, I love movies, I love plays. Everything involved in the process of storytelling, from the paper to the screen, I am obsessed with. So if you liked this video and you'd like me to do another video talking about some of my favorite like small tiny moments and like elaborating on them and going into detail and then like hyperfixating and going on the for hours, I absolutely could make another one of these. If you would be interested in watching that, do let me know. If you have your own like tiny moments that you can never get out of your head and just live in there rent free, absolutely tell me in the comments down below. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe, like so that I know that it's the kind of thing that people will tune in to watch. It's been really lovely making these videos and being able to talk about things that I'm obsessed with, to be able to bring you guys in on like the part of my brain that is just always occupied with these things. It doesn't matter what I'm doing at any time of day. There is at least one scene from a show or movie replaying on loop at the back of my head. It's usually a different one every day, but like there's always something in there. It's just in there. This morning it's the scene in My Lovely Boxer where Lee Sang-yeob's character playing a slimy agent. He's a good person at heart, but like his agent persona is a slimy piece of shit. And there's this moment where he's like basically leveraging, kind of blackmailing, not really, leveraging somebody to do something. And the guy calls him like not even a human being. And his response,
양마 같은 새끼. 방어전 깨부수고 프로모터들 약치고 스폰 뺏어가고 이게 사람 새끼가 할 짓이야?
제가 사람 새끼가 아니라서요.
that facial expression, the delivery of that line, oh, rent-free. Lee Sang-yeob, the actor that you are. Also, can you believe this man is 40? Unreal.
Also, I'm adding this bit in super last minute because the newest episode of I Feel You Linger in the Air was airing literally as I was finishing editing this. And this moment where Yai just completely throws all caution to the wind. Like, you can see him sort of tentatively approaching his feelings for Jom the whole episode, and honestly the whole series so far. But this moment where he realizes that Jom isn't getting it in the hints and he has to just be direct is so incredibly well acted. This just like, fuck it, you can see the switch get flicked in his brain where he's like, oh, I have to seduce this man. It's just, Yai throughout this series has been so like quietly emotional and earnest and just sort of soft and within himself the whole time. To see this switch flick and for him just to be like, oh, you need assertive, I'ma be assertive, is just
เนี่ยหรือต้องให้ฉันเขียนเพลงยาวบอกพ่อจอมหรืออย่างไรพ่อจอมถึงจะเข้าใจความรู้สึกของฉัน
Oh, it's so good. So yeah, I hope you're all doing well out there. I'm really looking forward to hearing about all of your favorite acting performances. I'm really hoping I can keep making this content. I'm really hoping that this is something that is going to become more of a career for me, because I really like making these videos. They're hard work, and I get to write and research and think about things, and I get to communicate with people who I would never otherwise communicate with, and it's been great, and I would love to keep doing it. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for engaging with my content. And I hope you're looking forward to like a 2.5 hour long video about psych, because that'll be out in the next couple of months. And I'm so excited about it. Also, my Chinese bromance video, very much still in the works, but it's so much research. It's so much research. And also it's watching a lot of shows, which is great. Gives me an excuse to watch a lot of shows. Which I'm never going to complain about. But also, watching shows is time consuming. It's probably not going to be out for at least another 2 months, maybe. But in 2 months' time, like if I haven't posted it, feel free to give me a gentle nudge. The next couple of weeks, hopefully filming a few videos with people. Lizette from my Kit Connor video, they should hopefully be making a reappearance. My friend Dylan, hopefully, will be doing a little YouTube collab, which I'm very excited about. My friend Jelly Baby's Art was supposed to be doing a Q&A at some point. They've been hosting Q&As on their Instagram, and it's been really fun to listen to artists talk about their creative process. They're very, very talented, and the artists they've had on have been very, very talented, and it's just really nice to listen to people talk about the creative process. There'll be a few more like co-hosted videos coming up soon, hopefully. So that also pushes like the romance video and the psych video like slightly further down the line, because I'll have a few more videos to put out that involve like my friends and other artists that I want to lift up and make more visible. So I really hope that you'll be excited to tune in for those, because I'm really excited to make them. I'm really excited about it. I'm off to go watch more TV shows where I can find tiny little moments to just replay in my head over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until I'm obsessed about it. And young.